you see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the resistance. Wednesday, February 13th, I'm Dean Obeidallah, hoping to be your MBFF. I first want to thank people who sent me emails about my cold and how to get better, and people sent me various suggestions. I truly appreciate it. Although I think last night I started to get better. My fiance forever hen made some chicken soup for me that was homemade, and I drank a lot of it. I went to sleep very early, slept a lot, and I still have a little cold, but my energy level is much better. My head was clear today. I'm feeling feisty, ready to go, and to celebrate, we need some humor. So here's first Trevor Noah making a great point about, and it was something we talked about yesterday, folks, and it's funny, but it's scary. And that's how Donald Trump, at his rally Monday, literally got the crowd to cheer something they knew was not true. And that's a step on the way to an authoritarian leader leading in any direction. That person could go into fascism if they so choose, but a dictatorial person. We've seen this before with Trump, and again, I think we're going to see more and more of it going into the general election. Nothing is off the table. We know that. We have to be prepared for anything. But here's Trevor Noah having a little fun with it. Here's clip number one.
Border security isn't just about walls, right? And at one point, Trump started to talk about how dogs can also help detect drugs on the border. But much like a dog himself, Trump got distracted.
We have equipment now that can spot drugs. It's incredible stuff. By the way, there is nothing better than a good old-fashioned German Shepherd. It's hard to believe. Right? You do love your dogs, don't you? I wouldn't mind having one, honestly, but I don't have any time. How would I look walking a dog on the White House lawn? Would that be... A lot of people say, oh, you should get a dog. Why? It's good politically. I said, look, that's not the relationship I have with my people. We want to have, yeah, Obama had a dog, you're right.
Yeah, Obama had a dog. Ha, 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 ha. What? Did that guy just scream, Obama had a dog, like it's a bad thing? That's how much Trump has persuasion over his people at these rallies. He managed to turn white people against dogs. Dogs.
And he turned white people against dogs. It's light stuff, but it's scary stuff because we saw it yesterday when we played the clips of Donald Trump saying the wall has brought down crime in El Paso. And statistically, that's not true. Not even close to true. The mayor, who was a Republican of El Paso, said it was not true. Went on CNN, wrote an op-ed in USA Today, yet people in El Paso cheered it. And then here was just a funny joke by Trevor on Donald Trump's lack of math skills. Here's clip number two.
The one new thing we did learn is that in addition to words, the president seems to struggle with numbers too.
By the way, we. I'm 1 and 1. I'm 1 for 1. Think of it. We had one election, we won. Now we're going to be 2 for 0, and everything's going to be perfect.
Yep, that's right. Trump is 1 for 1, and if he wins again, he's going to be 2 for 0. That's not how math works. But at least now we know how Trump successfully negotiated negative $200 million for his wall.
So it's just insane. So he did make a great point about the border deal, and I want to talk about that. There was something we talked about last night, and some people even emailed me afterwards. Surprised like I was that the media was not talking about the attack on a BBC reporter right there at the rally on Monday night in front of Trump, after Trump continually talked about demonizing the media and saying horrible things about them. And here was Sarah Huckabee, as I call her, on Fox and White Friends this morning, asked about it. They gave her a softball on the whole thing about violence at your rally. Of course you're against it, right, Sarah? Wink, wink. So here's Sarah lying to people. Here's clip number 3.
A couple of nights ago in El Paso, somebody, obviously a supporter of the president because they were in attendance at the event, apparently tried to take out a BBC reporter or a camera guy or something like that. You have put out a statement that is over the line. People, you condemn any sort of attacks on anybody, right?
Absolutely. And the idea that the president or anybody on his team or in his administration would encourage violence is absolutely absurd. The president stopped, asked, and made sure everyone was okay before continuing on with the event. Certainly, we condemn violence in any form against anyone, and that certainly includes the press.
Well, here's the reality. Two things. One thing is she made a great admission there saying Donald Trump saw the reporter get beat up, because he did. And he gave a thumbs up to the reporter to see if the reporter was okay. And the reporter said fine. What Donald Trump did not do at that moment is something every responsible politician who doesn't want violence would have done, which is simply tell your crowd, hey, I love your enthusiasm, but there's no place for violence at my rallies at all. Especially don't attack the media. He can't do that because attacking the media is part of his base. It's part of his platform. It's right there with racism, bigotry, and sexism. You also have attacking the media because that's how authoritarians come to power and get more power because there's no fact checking on them. Secondly, she lied there, and it's another attempt to gaslight. And I call it out because we must call out their lies because they're trying to normalize them. Of course, Donald Trump has called for violence at his rallies. In fact, here's just a few clips of Trump. Here's clip number 4.
So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees. I promise. I promise. We're not allowed to punch back anymore. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, you know, they would not do it again so easily.
Don't believe your ears or your eyes. Just believe Donald Trump and Sarah Huckabee as they lied to you. That's what they're about. This is the most dangerous administration we've had in my lifetime that literally try to lie to your face, and their supporters have no problem being lied to. They actually cheer and echo the lies of Donald Trump. But here we are now on the verge of a border deal. And I want to talk about this border deal and get a sense as progressives what you think about it, because I haven't heard too much. I've heard Trump mumbling about it. I haven't heard progressives say they're happy with it or not. Or is it not that big of a deal what the deal was, so you're not really upset? Although something else happened organically on an issue, which later, next hour I have Elie Mystal here and Danielle Moody-Mills in the third hour. I'm going to talk about it with them. But I just had a really good conversation with Mark Thompson upstairs in the hall because we have the same halls and we chat and everything. And I get guidance from Mark a lot. And I was asking him about Kamala Harris. In fact, he brought it up actually about something on Twitter. And I am really intrigued by this. And I'm hesitant to talk about it because I want to talk about it with Elie and Danielle and get their reactions. But at the same time, I would love to hear from African Americans the reaction to this issue with Kamala Harris. And Politico had an article, and this is what started. And I sent it both to Elie and to Danielle. And the idea is why Kamala Harris is glad people are asking if she's black enough, which means nothing to me, the issue of black enough or not. That's irrelevant. It means zero. It's not that I don't see color. That's not. My question to Mark was, does this matter in the black community? Because outside of the black community, it doesn't matter to me, but I was wondering, does it matter for authenticity? And he got upset, and as Mark does. And I'm like, look, Mark, I'm a progressive. I want to learn. That's what I'm always about. I think one of the big difference between us, I hope, and the other side is that as progressives, we want to learn. And I'm not afraid to admit the things I don't know. I don't know everything. I know that for sure. There are many questions. I'm also so intrigued and borderline obsessed with race in this country because I lived a unique experience where I really was a white person before 9/11 and had white privilege, and after 9/11 lost that as someone of Arab heritage and who's Muslim. So I've seen it firsthand from both sides. So I'm the living manifestation that race is a social construct in our country, meaning it's based on our society. We've defined what it means because when you go to other countries, their definition of racism and race issues are different, as I found out when I've gone to the Middle East and even Europe. So I'll put this out as another issue. If people want to call about this, I'll get into the border issue a little bit and break that down. But here was the interesting thing that I asked Mark, and I just asked my friend Godfrey too, who hosts a show on Urban View, and he's my buddy for a long time, and he's from Africa. Godfrey, he's raised mostly in the States, But I asked them both the same question, got similar responses, just different levels of excitement, I should say, in the way their responses were given to me. I asked them both, since Kamala Harris is half Indian, because her mom was Indian, and her dad is Jamaican, from Jamaica, would you view her as African American? Is technically African American would be the application to her, and because she's from Jamaica, or does it matter at all? And that's simply my question. Now, Godfrey said, well, it doesn't matter. She's born here. She's raised in the African American experience, and that's all that matters. Mark said the same thing, but a little differently. He was more like the idea that, how do you not know that people from Jamaica are descendants of slaves? I heard that. I don't know how many percentage. I was asking technically. So I'm really intrigued by this because what happened is Kamala Harris went on a show here in New York called The Breakfast Club. And the host asked her questions about what people have been raising to them. And I don't know what credibility these questions had, but they asked them. Well, same thing about are you black enough? And she responded, look, and I'm reading her quote, look, this is the same thing they did to Barack. This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they are trying to do. And she goes on to say they're trying to divide the African-American community. So that was really the question I had out there. And I'm going to talk to Ellie and Danielle about it, and I want to get their input. But if you want to call about this, does this mean anything to the African-American community about, is there such a thing as not being black enough for a politician? And it's not meaningless in meaningful in any way whatsoever, or not. And I also think that having the discussions early in the cycle is important anyway, to get rid of issues that we know are going to come up. We know people on the right are going to try to use to divide our community. They also asked Kamala Harris about her issues with being a prosecutor. They asked her about a meme saying she broke the record for incarcerating black men. And she said, that's absolutely not true. So I think it's really good she's having the opportunity now to clear up these issues, which are factually inaccurate. So let's talk about the border deal. And later in the show, we'll talk to Danielle and Ellie. But if anyone wants to call, you've got to be African-American to advise me and guide me on this and all of us on the issue of Kamala Harris being accused of being not black enough where the Breakfast Club host actually asked her that question on air. And was that a wrong question for them to ask? Because I didn't know. I mean, I was like, wow, that's a weird question to ask. But she was right. Barack was asked that. I recall that conversation with Barack Obama. So, all right, let me talk about, if people call about that issue, I'll get to that. I want to talk about the border deal and what the details are right now. We do not have a written piece of legislation. We are still waiting for that. What we do know is Trump had wanted $5.7 billion for 200 miles of wall. That's what he wanted. And what he's being offered now is $1.375 billion for 55 miles. Which is actually less, oddly enough, that was in the last spending bill that he could have gotten $1.6 billion. So he's actually getting less money for his wall, fencing, whatever you want to call it. And the Democrats have retreated from a new demand about U.S. immigration and ICE beds being restricted in size. We talked about with Raul Reyes at length yesterday, but that was a newer issue. That wasn't a big issue before. So it's kind of, to me, the Democrats are giving only 20% of what Donald Trump wanted. And the Democrats, let's not forget, we control the House, but they control 2/3 of the federal government, the presidency and the Senate. And of course, they could say no to anything. And it's not really, what they're making it clear is that the money's not going to go to build a wall per se. It might be some fencing in certain areas. That's it. But if they said no to the Democrats, then we go back to a shutdown, which might fall on Democrats. And we spoke to countless people who are hurt by the shutdown, because over 800,000 federal workers and millions of federal contractors were hurt. And would it be something worthwhile to shut it down again? And I'm going to go to the calls, and I see people calling on the border issue and Kamala Harris, and I want to take both. The backup for Donald Trump right now is to say he'll take what he gets and he's going to find the money from other sources. He's not going to declare an emergency. He's going to find the money laying around from other sources. And when I went today and looked at Article 1 of the Constitution, which is weird in the time of Trump, I find myself reading the Constitution a lot. Article 1 of the Constitution, the first article, the most important article, as the framers of our Constitution made clear, was about Congress. Article 2 is the president. Article 1 gives Congress the full power to tax and to spend. The power of the purse is in Congress. Article 2 for the president gives him no power to just spend money whenever he wants, so to me it would be unconstitutional. But still, at the same time, Trump is saying now they're legally going to find the money to build a wall. And had an event a short time ago, I don't need to play his stupid comments for you, where he told police chiefs, we're building the wall already, it's going to be built. But Chuck Schumer today made it clear, where are you going to transfer this money from? Are you kidding me? Here's clip number 6.
He'll have to determine if he wants to try to move it around, whether he wants to take back on Coast Guard cutters or FEMA or something like that. He can't raise the caps. And as for moving around the money, he needs congressional permission to do it. It was done in the past by President Obama and President Trump, but the Republicans controlled the House and gave him the okay. He doesn't have the authority to do it without House permission.
And by the way, the money he's going to use and what they're talking about, the money Trump would use, and I'm not making this up, it's for aid for Puerto Rico's relief effort and California wildfires, nothing from Texas because, and I'm not kidding, he's literally going to take the money from the blue states or Puerto Rico, which are more Democrats, and not from the Republican states because Donald Trump is not the president of the United States of America. He continues to tell us he's the king of his base and doesn't care about us. That's where we are right now. So, you know, there was an op-ed in the CNN opinion section by Michelle Garcia, who's a progressive, slamming Democrats for giving even a penny to any of this wall, even 55 miles, saying that what you're doing is yielding to a monument of violent racist ideology. And she made some compelling points. Out of African Americans, 87% oppose the wall, and 71% of Latinos oppose the wall in a Pew poll, while a slight majority of white Americans support the wall. So that's where we stand. We're there. So, look, we'll take a break. Come back. I'm going to take your calls. Some are calling about the border, many calling about Kamala Harris. I'm intrigued by race so much, but I do want to talk about the border thing. So if you talk about race with me, I'm going to also ask you your view of the border wall and what you're thinking. But, it's remarkable, just the passion. And I like Mark. He's an amazing guy, Mark Thompson. I loved his passion in a second having this conversation, how passionate he was about it and how it was. And he brought up the point. He was upset about something on Twitter that had nothing to do with me about people attacking Kamala Harris as not being the descendant of slaves. But I'm just amazed at the nuance of this issue. That's something I had no clue about. So let's take a break. Come back. 866-997-4748. We'll talk about both these issues with you right to the top of the hour right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
I think Trump clips that they play on the media should come with a health warning saying that if you watch this, you'll get dumber. Never has somebody said so much stupid in so little time as Donald Trump does.
SiriusXM Progress.